Last and final round here for the Mazdas at Brands Hatch. Now we've got Ben Short starting on pole position, followed very closely by the last two-year championship winner, Will Blackwell Chambers, so it's going to be interesting to see how they got off the line. Now obviously we've got Joe, newcomer, in third, and Brian, who got his first win yesterday, in fourth, so he's going to be hungry to get back on that podium. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch, jam-packed of action, so we're going to hand it straight over to Andy to run you through it all.
Well, we've had two fantastic races already today at Brands Hatch. The third one, I'm sure, will be just the same. Ben Short and Will Blackwell Chambers share the front row of the grid, with Joe Wiggin and Brian Trott next, then Ollie Allwood and Adam Bessel, Stuart Simmons and Steve Foden. Again, this result based on the based on the result from race number 2A, and this is the final opportunity for a maximum points score this weekend. The 5 drivers promoted from race 2B are at the back of the grid, as always, and they are William Hayden, Marcus Bailey, Dave Waters, Thomas Jenkins and Richard Wotton. So a 32 car grid this time, and it will be very, very interesting to see who comes out with the third race victory. Will we get 3 different winners for the weekend, I wonder, or is either Ben Short or Brian Trott going to be able to bring home 2 victories for the weekend? Well, let's find out. The lights go out. It's a good start made by both front row men, in fact. Joe Wiggin slots into 4th position. Not a great start made by Ollie Allwood, though. He's the blue and white car going backwards, and he could lose several positions on the run to Paddock Hill Bend. On board with Richard Wotton in the number 3 car off the back row of the grid, having finished inside the top 5, in fact even 5th place in race 2B, and he is already starting to make progress from the back of the field. Up the hill we go, and into the right-hand hairpin at Druids. A couple of cars sporting a bit of damage from earlier on there. We're on board with Lewis Cannon again, who's been solidly in the midfield in all 3 of the A races so far this weekend. Good solid start to his season. The number 91 car behind him there, trying to make a move, but to no avail as they turn through Graham Hill Bend back along the Cooper Straight. Tom Smith trying to get through. Tom, who was promoted from the first B race and actually finished 19th in race 2A, so really working his way up the order nicely as the weekend goes on. But through clearways we go then. For the first time of asking there, Jason Gray, Trex Martin Tolley and Scott Leach are the 2 drivers right behind him. We're on board with Tolley, looking back at Leach with that distinctive livery on the front of his car. And he will be licking his lips at the prospect of getting stuck into another battle here with Martin Tolley, but he's dropping back a little bit as they cross the line. Into the braking zone at Paddock. Cement dust down there from an earlier race, and that will just maybe be limiting the grip and the traction a bit as they turn into the corner. There's no lack of traction and grip though, and certainly no lack of inspiration for Ollie Allwood, who was trying to go right around the outside of everybody. I think he's going to get at least 1 place out of that at the expense of Adam Bessel, and in fact Adam could lose out to Steve Foden if he's not too careful. But sometimes when everyone else goes to the inside at Druids, you can, if you've taken your brave pills, go charging around the outside of everyone and actually gain a couple of spots just by braking so much later than everybody else, even though you're going the long way round. It's fraught with risk, but it can work. At the head of the field then, it is Ben Short leading the way. It's Brian Trott in 2nd, Blackwell Chambers 3rd, and Joe Wiggin, I think, has lost a position, at least a position, at the start of every one of the 3 races this weekend, in 5th position. But what he lacks for in progress at the start of the race, he more than makes up for as the race goes on. He'll be looking to try and double up on podium results in this one if at all possible. It's a 7-car lead train at the moment as they crest the hill at Paddock Hill Bend, drop back down the hill. It's Steve Foden at the back of the group though, who we haven't really seen right at the sharp end all weekend so far. And he is there with Stuart Simmons, in fact, about to make it an 8-car trade. In fact, yeah, definitely 8 cars. As they drop the hill again, Adam Craig, I think, is next in line. Everybody else filing through. 1 car running a bit wide there further back. That looks like Mike Pollard. Oh, there's contact, and that's Scott Leach off. Scott Leach is off at the bottom of the hill. Now, there was another car involved there. I didn't quite see who it was, but Scott Leach was right behind Martin Tolley, and I think it might have been Martin that he got tangled up with. Thankfully, they both rejoined by the looks of it, but that was not an ideal start for either of those 2 drivers. Scott Leach now has even more overtaking to do if he's going to get himself back into the top 20 even. Across the start-finish line comes, well, everybody really. It's not going to stop counting how many cars are in the lead group because it's pretty much the entire top half of the field are pretty much attached to each other here. But it's Ben Short leading them round. Already equalled his win tally from last year. Can he now double on it in this race with a 2nd victory? Well, this is exactly what he wants to see in his mirrors. Brian Trott defending his 2nd place from everybody else and allowing Ben Short in Mazda MX-5 terms to pull out a gargantuan lead, but it's only a couple of car lengths in reality, and actually Brian Trott is already starting to eat into that as they head through Graham Hill again. Allwood there in 5th, just on the tail of Joe Wiggin. Then they get back to Bessel and Foden and Simmons and everybody else. head towards the end of another lap, through the left, through the right, onto the brakes. Possible overtaking opportunity, but it's easy to make a contact if you go up the inside there, because you can sometimes be sighted by the car behind. Incidentally, that contact between John Langridge and Will Blackwell-Chambers in the previous race that saw Langridge retire and Blackwell-Chambers briefly inherit the race lead, initially Blackwell-Chambers was given a time penalty which was later rescinded, so the result stands and he finishes second. Of course, regardless of what happened, it wasn't going to reinstate John Langridge into a race win. He will still count as a non-finisher, but no punishment for Blackwell-Chambers. That was the decision made, that he was not at fault, and it was simply a racing incident, so that's fair enough, really. So Blackwell-Chambers in third place in this race. Meanwhile, behind them, look at Steve Foden really getting racy in this one, trying to find a way past Adam Bessel, who's been sort of on the fringes of the lead battle all weekend, hasn't he? Adam Bessel finished 7th in race 1, 6th in race 2, and he's running 6th again in this one. But you can see he often seems to be the first car that loses touch with the group in front. So he's got decent speed, but just having to defend, I think, and sometimes that's just the way it works, isn't it? It's not necessarily because you're slower than the other cars. You just find yourself having to defend once or twice, and all of a sudden they've pulled a good second or so in front of you. That is how important momentum is in these cars. They're not the most powerful things in the world. That's why this bump drafting technique is so important, because you can really gain some straight line speed as a result of two cars working together. And Steve Foden there, I think, sensibly realising that the top 5 were getting away from he and Adam Bessel, decided that rather than keep on attacking and keep on holding each other up, he would push Bessel down the pit straight. And look, they've already caught up to the group in front again, so that is what effect that bump draft can have, and it's very clever racing there for Steve Foden as he tries to work the situation to his best advantage as well as Adam Bessel's. He's not doing it to help Bessel as such, but he realises that if the two of them work together, then that's their best chance of getting into the top 5 battle. And Steve Foden in 7th place really would like to get himself a top 5 here to round out the weekend in style. Clearways they go. They are noticeably closer now to the 5 cars in front, but I wonder how long Foden will be willing to follow Adam Bessel here, and how long it'll take before he really does try and attack. He's back in the wheel tracks again as they come across the start-finish line, but not ducking out of line, so it looks to me as though they are still working together here. Side-by-side battling behind. I think that's Matt Pollard again, isn't he, getting stuck in? We've spoken a lot about Matt in his midfield battles. Some of the cars towards the back of the field, of course. No relegation to worry about in this race, because it's the final A race of the weekend, so there wouldn't be a B race to get relegated into. Nonetheless, the drivers towards the back wanting to score as many points as possible as the 24 car, who I don't think we've mentioned so far today. Sideways through Paddock Hill Bend and running a little bit wide as a result. And that is Oliver Graham, who is throwing the car around the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. Number 30 in there as well, Dave Turton, who we haven't spoken about since race 1. There, the 91 machine of Tom Smith at the front of the group. Tom, that little group I should say, Tom Smith working his way up towards the top 15 or so now, I should think. On the left-hand Mercedes. And he's under a lot of pressure here from Oliver Graham, and Oliver started 3 positions behind him. Tom Smith was 19th on the grid, Graham was 22nd. They've got themselves together now. And as they head through clearways, I was just trying to see who had run out wide there. I think it might have possibly been Tom Smith, because he's going to lose a place now, going to Paddock Hill Bend. And, that looks like it was Seb Fisher going through. There's the 61 machine as well. And lots of drivers trying to take advantage of this last race of the weekend to gain as much ground as they can. Richard Baxter, that was, who started 26th in this race. Running about that position now, I think, as they head out of Druids again. Look at this, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them, absolutely nose to tail, right the way down the order. The racing is so intense, and this is why it's such a great entry-level form of motorsport, because you don't have to immediately be on the pace, the front-running pace, in order to have a good time, because wherever you are in the field, you'll have playmates, and even if you're not in the A races, the B races tend to be pretty frenetic as well. A wide run there for Jack Moody, and that opens the door for 65 William Hayden to get up the inside. William was the winner of the 2nd B race, trying to get himself into the top 20 in this one. Ahead of the field, have we had a change in the order? I don't think we have. It's still going to be Short leading the way, Trott 2nd, Blackwell-Chambers 3rd, then Allwood, Wiggin, Bessel, Foden, Simmons. They're all there again, 8 of them in a big pack at the front of the field. One false move for any one of these drivers and they're going to lose a handful of positions, and it will really shake up the pack as well. They do seem to have fallen into a bit of a stalemate here, don't they, where no one's willing, just yet at least, to stick their nose out of line for fear of being attacked immediately by the car behind. If you leave a gap on the inside line, it will be filled fairly quickly. more than one car, so that's the worry here for Ben Short, of course. One little slip up and they could all come filing through. Brian Trott, though, after his second win of the year, these are of the weekend, I should say, and of the year, I suppose. These are the two winners from our first two A races. Trott won yesterday, Short won this morning. Who's going to come out on top in the third race, or will it be someone else? Will Blackwell Chambers? It's hard to believe I'm saying this, but he hasn't won a race yet today, and he's in third. He has at least had a podium, but he will argue that really should have been a race victory, and maybe that contact with Langridge knocked something astray in the front of the car, I don't know, but either way, he didn't seem quite as quick after it, did he? And Short was able to get past him. This in the previous race. On this occasion, though, he is down in third place, one place further back from where he started. Cooper straight again behind the pit lane and the paddock. Lots of interested team members watching from the back of the paddock rather than from the pit wall. You can actually see more of the circuit from behind the garages. On board with Martin Tolley here as he heads through McLaren and Clearways. I don't think he's got anyone immediately behind him, but he's certainly got someone immediately in front of him who he's trying to find a way past. Martin Tolley, former race winner in this championship, a few years though since he's last won a race, Martin. To try and do something about that. He's one of the top Masters drivers though, and will continue to be so, I think, throughout the rest of the 2019 season. The Masters Championship for those who are a little bit some of the more experienced drivers, experienced in age at least, and they're still very competitive, some of them though. Our Masters winners so far have included, well, Brian Trott has won both of the Masters races so far, and of course one of those included an overall race victory in the first race. So just because you're a Master, just because you're one of the older drivers on the grid, does not mean that you're not going to be competitive and right at the front of the field. Someone's off, and that was 544 even, Jack Moody, wasn't it, that went off. It seemed unassisted, but I didn't quite see how that started, but Jack Moody running wide and just about avoids getting beached in the gravel trap. Was at the back of this titanic tussle, which has got Jake Bailey involved towards the sharp end of it, on board with David Waters in the Go For It racing car. Looking back at a pair of blue cars behind him. I think one of those is Dave Turton. Down the Clearways they go again though, and no change just yet. In the slipstream down the pit straight, things could start to shuffle around here. He's going to duck out of line. Tom Smith there at the head of the pack is number 65, and that's not for much longer though, actually, because Jake Bailey throws it straight up the inside. That was a nice move there by Jake, and he gains a position, and it could be that this really starts to change things around. Will Hayden was the 65 car that got overtaken there. Tom Smith nearly gets assaulted from behind. We've got cars going left, right and centre here. Number 54 that was, that nearly got into the back of him, and that was Marcus Bailey from 29th on the grid, and now he gets leaned on by the 44 machine of Yoshihiro Ito, and it all starts to get very, very congested indeed. Dave Waters buys into it as well, and unfortunately it is Marcus Bailey, who, having made some really good progress so far from the back of the grid, is now going to start losing ground again. 44 of Ito also loses a place there to Dave Waters, so Waters gains a couple of places out of all of that. Oh, Ollie Allwood there in the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend, and Adam Bessel sees his opportunity to get up the inside line. Allwood will have dirt on his tyres as well, and actually fends him off quite nicely as Brian Trott goes for the race lead. Brian Trott is alongside Ben Short. Now, where did that come from? Brian's sort of dutifully been following Ben Short so far this race, but then all of a sudden decided he was going to go for it. It doesn't pay off, but that was interesting. Brian's signalling his intent there. He's not happy with second place. Blackwell Chambers third, and Joe Wiggins still in fourth position, but whilst we were watching what was going on behind with Ollie Allwood, Brian Trott mounted his first serious challenge for the race lead. Out of Clearways they go again. Along the pit straight, then is that still Allwood fifth? It is, but Stuart Simmons is up the inside of Adam Bessel for sixth position. He's bringing Steve Foden with him, so Foden now into seventh. This is going better and better for Steve Foden here. Again, one of the drivers of this race, it has to be said. Started it from eighth, so I suppose he's sort of running where he should be, but lost a bit of ground at the start, and that's not always through the fault of the driver. It's just sometimes getting in the wrong lane or getting boxed in behind somebody at the start can lose you several positions when you're all bunched together like that. So Steve Foden's done well to pick his way back well inside the top 10 now. The top four have made a bit of a break. Now, I wonder whether this might actually improve the prospects of overtaking a little bit here, because when there were 8 or 9 of them nose to tail, I think people were a bit too scared to duck out of line and really try anything too out there. But now you can see there's lots of overtaking going on, because Joe Wiggins now goes up the inside of Blackwell Chambers. Sometimes when the pack splits up a little bit, that can open the door for more overtaking opportunities. It seems to be the case because Joe Wiggin is back on the podium now. Will Blackwell Chambers is back off it, and that really has been the story for both of them, hasn't it, really? Wiggin, podium contender in all 3 races, and Blackwell Chambers, not really. Got that second place in race 2, but doesn't seem to have the pace again now in the 3rd race. Joe Wiggin, I think if things finish as they are now, will actually be 3rd in the championship as well. It's been a really consistent start to the year with that 4th in race 1, a 3rd in race 2, and potentially another 3rd place to round out the weekend. So Joe Wiggin really has impressed me, and I know a lot of the paddock this weekend at Brands Hatch. Meanwhile, Steve Foden is still getting stuck in here. He's got Adam Bessel trying to come back past him, and Bessel almost into the back of him there as they came through Graham Hill. Back to Surtees they go. Meanwhile, back in front of the field, it is still Ben Short with Trott behind. Now, we've had Joe Wiggin on the podium in 3rd place. Can he get 2nd, I wonder? Can he get past Brian Trott? Well, he's going to try, I'm sure, and if Trott gets a bit held up here by Ben Short, it could happen. The 4 of them are going to be pretty much back together, I think, by the start of this lap. So Short from Trott, from Wiggin, from Blackwell Chambers is your lead battle. And Blackwell Chambers keeping a watching brief in 4th and really just hoping that they all sort of fall off the road in front of him. That's probably the only chance he's got really of winning the race now. Ollie Allwood in 5th, then Simmons, Foden and Bessel, the next 3 in line. Bessel very late on the brakes, too late on the brakes, but I think Adam Craig behind was using him as his braking marker and followed him straight in as well, so they both end up running wide. While Ben Short seems to be under increasing pressure here from Brian Trott. Trott a bit quicker off Graham Hill Bend again. He's now got this pressure again from Joe Wiggin behind him, so the question is, does he settle for 2nd or go for a move for the lead that could end up losing him spots? Through clearways, all of them taking a very similar tight line through the corner. Back in a straight line again. Ben Short trying to fend them all off as we come through onto another lap into the closing stages now of our 3rd A race of the weekend, the final race for these drivers this weekend. And Joe Wiggin is going to start attacking for 2nd place. This will relieve Ben Short of some pressure, but it's certainly not the case for Brian Trott, who's really having to get his elbows out now. Dives to the inside of the road, but Wiggin doesn't really want to go to the outside because that means that Blackwell Chambers will be up the inside of him, and now Ollie Allwood joins in as well. 1 corner of defensive driving from any one of these leading 4 cars just brings someone else onto their tail, doesn't it? It just really slows down the lap times. Fastest lap in this race, incidentally, is held at the moment by Ollie Allwood, and he's just set it to 57.329. That would be just slightly slower than he went in the previous race, but Allwood set the fastest lap in race 2 as well. So Ollie on the pace this weekend, but hasn't necessarily had the results to show for it. 2 5th place finishes already, and he's in 5th right now, so he'll really want to try and improve on that if he can. He may have an opportunity to do so as well, because he's very close to Will Blackwell Chambers as they cross the start-finish line. The 2 blue and white cars almost touching under braking. Blackwell Chambers defends the inside. Can Allwood get the switch back on the exit of the corner? Doesn't look like it. So still the status quo remains with Short, Trott, Wiggin, Blackwell Chambers and Allwood being the order, but Ollie Allwood is the man who's free to attack at the back of the group, and attack he does. Goes to the outside at Druids, forces Blackwell Chambers to defend, and again down into Graham Hill Bend. This is going to detach Blackwell Chambers from the leading trio, which takes the pressure off Joe Wiggin as well. And he's going to have to defend again into Surtees, look, so Blackwell Chambers may be waving goodbye to his podium prospects here slightly, because I don't think he's really going to have enough time left now to reel in the top 3 again. Not a million miles in front, but in Mazda MX-5 Championship terms, that is an absolute age. A 3 or 4 car length advantage is fairly comfortable, really, in this championship. And that's what Joe Wiggin enjoys now, over Blackwell Chambers behind him. Across the start-finish line we go, though, onto what I believe is going to be the final lap of the race. Yes, it is the final lap of the day for the A drivers. And Ben Short leading them round. Is he going to be able to hang on, or can Brian Trott beat him to his 2nd victory of the weekend? He's sort of looking from left, right, left, right, left, right. Which way am I going to go? Trying to keep Ben Short guessing, but Ben is experienced enough an MX-5 driver to know which way to go. And the inside line is always the best place to defend, and that's what Ben Short did. So he holds on again. Brian Trott in his wheel tracks, though, not really feeling the pressure here from Joe Wiggin, so if Brian wanted to really try and take this wide line into clearways and try and get the slingshot to the line, that could be his best available option. Into the final corner they go. That's exactly what he does. Look, goes wide in, cuts back to the late apex, knowing that Wigan isn't close enough to get up the inside, but actually Trott, I think, just ran a bit too deep on the brakes there, and he is not going to get there. So it will be 2 wins from 3 for Ben Short, and he will be your early championship leader. A brilliant weekend for Ben Short. 3 podiums, and 2 of those podiums were race victories. Brian Trott second, and Joe Wigan gets another podium result as well. And that was a brilliant weekend's work for Ben Short, who wins the 3rd A race at Brands Hatch. Brian Trott in second, Joe Wigan third, then Blackwell Chambers and Ollie Allwood round out the top 5. Stuart Simmons was next, ahead of an impressive Steve Foden. Adam Bessel, Adam Craig and Matt Luff round out the top 10. Then Tolley again just outside the top 10 with Jason Greatrex, Matt Pollard, Lewis Cannon and Sebastian Fisher round out the top 15 finishers. Scott Leach there recovered to 30th, that's as far as he got after his early spin. Just behind Thomas Jenkins. Fastest lap, as I said, goes to Oliver Allwood, as it did in 2 of the 3 races, with Peter Tyler and Richard Rutten at the back, but no non-finishers from that race. It was a clean race and another really, really close one. That was the biggest winning margin in any of the 3A races. It was an enormous 0.4 of a second.
Ben, you've come and pulled an absolute blinder, another first.
Yeah, absolutely. Not expected, but very nicely received. Yeah, really enjoyed the weekend. So haven't been doing much driving with the BRSCC recently, but massively enjoyed it, and really happy it's gone the way it's gone.
Does this mean we might be able to tempt you back for some more?
We'll have to see how our calendar pans out, but yeah, I'll see if we can pull some strings and hopefully come back out again.
It looked like a really good race out there. How did you feel about it?
It's not often that you get to sort of lead a race from lights to line, or lights to flag. So I struggled with it a little bit in the middle, and my mind started to wander. I actually missed the brakes up at the hairpin, as in just missed the pedal, but got my head back into it. And then the last lap board was very nice to see, that's for sure.
Brian, you were hungry to be back on this podium.
Yeah, it's been a good weekend, and Brands isn't necessarily one of my favourite tracks or somewhere I go well at. So I've definitely improved here, I can say that much. I mean, getting a win, a 4th, which should have been a 3rd, and a 2nd place here, I can't be unhappy. The car's been excellent. I could do it a bit more waft down the straights, but apart from that, the car's handled perfectly. We've done a really great job. My racecraft was brilliant, especially in race 1 yesterday, to hold them all off. And so I'll go away from here a happy man.
Now, I've got to ask you about that corner up at the hairpin. You managed to get Ben just a touch.
Yeah, I did, but I was on the wrong side of him. I mean, he squeezed, he locked up and went a bit wide. My car was excellent through Druids. I pulled Tom and everyone through there all this weekend. But unfortunately, he still had enough drive to be on the right side. So I knew that if I tried to fight around the outside, I was just going to end up on the grass. So I gave it back to him and slotted back in for another opportunity. His car was getting a bit leery towards the end, but he still managed to somehow get the drive. And there was nothing I could do. It was a close second, but an enjoyable race. It went really quickly.
So is this the beginning of good things we're going to see from you this season?
When I'm here, hopefully. But yeah, we'll see. It's been going well. It's a good start. We'll see where we go from here.
I think you're becoming one to watch this season.
Yeah, we'd like to think so. 2 thirds and a 4th, I think. Yeah, so no, it was brilliant. Tucker Motorsport, great job of the car weekend. We weren't quite there on the Friday, and we dialed it in, and ever since we haven't looked back.
So how did you feel going around on that last round?
Yeah, it was good. I felt like Ben had an extra gear on all of us. Az was down on the brake horsepower, and his is obviously on the limit, but he had something else compared to everyone else. So we need to find something if we're going to push on. But handling-wise, driving-wise, I think we've got the measurement. So.
Brilliant. So are we going to see good things from you coming in the future?
I can only hope. It's early days, but I'd like to push on and get a couple of wins, hopefully.
So you're coming back to Pembury?
We'll be there every round, yeah.